I'm so happy to be here with you here today. Sorry we were a few minutes late. We had a great big delivery truck come in and it was quite noisy, so we were kind of waiting for him to leave so that you could hear us on our Facebook Live. So this last week we had our prize was for 2 crochet hooks, and I believe that it was Suzanne Summers that won the prize. Suzanne Jennings from Oklahoma. Suzanne Jennings from Oklahoma won the 2 crochet hooks, so she'll get to try these out and she'll be able to see why we like them so much. So congratulations, we will be contacting you for your address. So, and make sure to post in comments today because we have a new contest. And the contest for today is for one of these view sizers, and what it does is you can put it over the top of your line. It makes it the print larger, so it's like a little magnifying glass, and you can also use this for your gauge on your needle gauge. Okay, so that's one of the prizes, and the other part is this row counter, because today we're going to be talking about how we can take our patterns that we're working on and make them easier for us to read and to understand where we're at, so we don't forget when we're knitting along and we put our stuff away in the bag where we're at in our pattern. So I'm just going to give you some tricks that I've learned over the years to make my knitting projects easier. Now, I don't always follow it, but I really should, because it makes your life easier when you use these little tricks. So that's the prize for today, is these 2 items, and how you win is you talk to us and let us know about your projects that you're working on, and you tell us where you're from, and you share maybe what you enjoy about your projects. Make sure to name the projects so that we can all learn from you, and that is fabulous because we love looking at new projects, and then we can look it up and enjoy the projects that you enjoy as well. So it's quite lovely. So post in those comments and you'll be entered to win. And if you are wondering where the blogs are, we wanted to make sure and tell you, it's if you go to www.alpacadirect.com and you look up on the top and you click the button that says blog, you can see all the different Facebook Lives that we have, and you can view them from there. And for those of you who want to enter the contest to win the prizes, we pick the winner the day, either the Monday or the Tuesday before the next contest. So when you start looking at those Facebook Live posts, you'll be able to see what day, because right in the beginning I usually tell you what we're going to be working on, and it'll say what day it is, so you'll be able to enter for the chance to win a prize. So you go ahead and post in those posts and let us know what you're working on. So today, a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about, and one of them is simply talking about row counters, and we have a couple different kinds. This one's from Susan Bates, a little tiny one, and it looks, in this picture you can put it on your finger if you like, and what you would do is you can just reset it by pushing that reset button on the side there, and it'll go to 0, and then every time you complete a row or a round, you would go ahead and click 1. Okay, I can't really click it because the button is kind of, it has a plastic covering over the top of it. And that's how you would keep track of your rows or rounds when you're knitting and or crocheting your projects. Another row counter that you can use. Yes, Jen?
Ellen says hi from Michigan.
Hi, Ellen. Good morning. It's nice talking to all of you out there. And also, I just wanted to show you this one. This is another row counter, and it's quite handy as well. And you would just push the top to make it work, and then you could count your rows doing that technique. Always make sure that when you're counting your rows, do not push the button until you're actually completely through the whole row or the round, because what you'll do is you will, if you click it at the beginning and you don't finish your round, you'll think, oh, I'm on round number 2 because you had already clicked the button, and you're actually still on round number 1. You just clicked it before you had completed it, and that could really mess up your lace pattern, for instance. So I would venture to say that it's probably best to not push the button until you're actually through the whole row or the whole round, and then you'll have better luck that way. So another thing that you can use is we have stitch markers, and these are soft stitch markers, and they're wonderful for keeping track of different patterns. So I have a pattern here, and it's called the Kisses and Hugs Baby Blanket from Alpaca Direct. And what I do here, you'll see my stitch markers, and these are just little hair bands that I bought, soft-sided hair bands that I bought from the beauty supply store, because they come in different colors, and if I fling them all over the floor, it doesn't hurt anything. So first of all, you'll see a pink one, and I always use pink because girls go before boys. Anyways, that's the way I have it memorized in my mind. And this is your slip stitch edge, and it's also the beginning of a right-sided row. So whenever I see that pink, I know it's the beginning, the right side of a beginning row, okay? And then right here, I'm having a little bit of ribbing. So I have another stitch marker indicating there's ribbing here. And then the next pattern is going to be garter stitch. So I have markers between that so I don't accidentally purl when I'm supposed to be knitting. And then the next set of stitch markers are outlining your cabled pattern. That's reversible cables. And then I have more garter stitch, and I have more ribbing, and I have more garter stitch, and I have more cables, and I have more garter stitch, and I have more ribbing, and I have garter stitch, cables, garter stitch, ribbing, slip stitch. And this is a wrong-sided row because it's not pink. So when I get over here and I'm working on this side, I know that I'm working on a wrong-sided row. And I only cable on the right-sided rows, so I can just zoom along my merry way, not worry about cabling when I'm on this side, because I know I don't cable on the wrong side. So that's how I use stitch markers to help me differentiate different patterns that are coming up.
Can you show that again? They were asking where the pattern is.
Sure. It's called the Hugs and Kisses Baby Blanket, and what it is a reversible pattern, and it is found on www.alpacadirect.com.
And who's that for?
This one is for my granddaughter, Evie. I wanted to have a blanket that she can enjoy. It's made out of the vintage chunky. It's a machine washable, little tiny bit of wool, but acrylic blend, and really wears nicely. So that's what I'm knitting mine. This is the second blanket out of this yarn and this pattern that I've done, only a different colorway. The last one was a pink one, but I really like that project. So another thing that I wanted to talk about is I have been working on these fingerless mitts. And sorry, my cat gets into everything. Max goes dragging this stuff around the house, and then that's what it looks like. He's a real helper, that little kitten. Anyways, okay, so first I want to show you that I have the green little, these are called locking stitch markers, and they're by Clover, and this is the large size, but they have smaller ones too. And we carry that on our website at www.alpacadirect.com. So this is marking my slip stitch on that, so the beginning of the round, and these two purple markers, I have them in a different color because those are increases for my thumb. And then when I need to change them, also make sure, now I have this kind of split, it doesn't really matter, what I'm marking is this V, because if you look right here, there is 2 stitches, half double crochet there, and I'm marking the outermost one. So the one to the right of this stitch is actually the one that I want to mark. And I'll keep moving them up as I go. And over here, we have 2 stitches, and I'm marking the outside one. And I'm marking this one right here, like that. Do you see the V? I'm putting it right underneath there so I can keep track of where I'm supposed to increase next when I need to increase. So you can, in crochet, you can use, and I love these kind of stitch markers for crochet. They're the locking stitch markers. They're pretty handy, okay? Also, I wanted to let you know that I have this ripple blanket that I've been working on. It's by Attic24, and it's called Neat Ripple Pattern or something like that, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. I have hair on it from the pets. But this is a free pattern, and I've been working on my crochet, as I told you before, because I'm trying to get better, improve my skills in crochet. And this was a really fun pattern to do. I didn't really need to mark what side I changed my yarns because I change them on the same side. So I don't really need to mark that. And then I could mark where I do my increases and decreases, but you can see with the increases right down here in the white, it's just two sets of increases, then 4 more stitches, and then you do 2 sets of decreases to do the inside. So I don't really use the stitch markers for this because it seemed a little bit redundant, kind of a waste of time. But this is a really fun pattern. So for those of you who like doing crochet projects, that is called the Neat Ripple Pattern, and it's by Addict24. And what I love about Addict24 on Ravelry is that they have great little tutorials for you, and their patterns are free. So you can go to Ravelry.com and look at that pattern, and it's a good learning tool for you. Make sure everyone post your comments in the comment section because we love looking at your projects. Yes, we love enjoying your projects as you're knitting along as well. So don't forget to do that, and then you'll be entered to win a prize, and the prize today is for the viewfinder and for the row counter. Okay, so you post comments in there, and that's how you are able to enter to win. And this was a vintage chunky, and I don't have the regular vintage, but this was regular vintage for the baby blanket there. And then this project with the crochet project with fingerless mitts was done with Universal Uptown Worsted. Great yarn for baby blankets and whatever you would like to use that for. It's great acrylic, and it feels so soft. And actually, I wasn't sure how warm it would be, but when I put it on, it was super warm. So don't be concerned about it not being warm enough. It should be just fine, unless it gets like below 0 or something, in which case you need alpaca. So, all right. So now we are going to be talking about our actual pattern and how to read the pattern. So I am going to be walking around the table, and we're going to be looking at a few things, okay? I also have, before I get started, I have a regular ruler, and when you're doing your patterns, you could possibly just take your ruler and set it on the round or row that you're working on, okay? And that will help you. So this is something you might already have at home that's handy. You could also take Post-it notes, okay? And it'll mark your round that you're working on or the row that you're working on. You could also, if you're crocheting along and you're just learning, this is round 1. It says chain 1. You could take your crochet hook and chain 1 and just take a highlighter and highlight that. So now you know that you've chained 1. Then you could go back and single crochet 25 times along the edge. Okay, so then as soon as you've completed it, you would go ahead and highlight that one out. Then the next thing that it says, join to the first single crochet. So once you have joined to the first single crochet with a slip stitch, you would highlight that one. Then when you're all done, I counted my chain 1 and I counted the 25 stitches, so I had a total of 26 stitches. Okay, so that I was telling myself as I was going along, I was writing notes. And if I have any other things, I would write them down in the bottom or wherever I'm working on, whatever I'm working on. And you can also go to Ravelry.com, and they have a place where you can actually post your projects, and you can take pictures of them, and you can use it as sort of a notebook I would highly, if there are those of you who are not using Ravelry yet, I would highly encourage you to take a look at it, because people, when you're doing like these simple fingerless gloves, for instance, you can look up on Ravelry, you would select the button that says patterns, and then you would look up simple fingerless gloves, and then you could go to the project page, and they'll tell you if there are errors in the pattern. They'll tell you if any little idiosyncrasies about the pattern that you might need to know. You can find it there. So I would use that resource and use it as kind of a diary to help you remember the wonderful blankets and different things that you're working on and how you change them, so that when you want to do them again, you can actually remember what you did. So I would highly encourage you to use that. And so anyways, that's how I used the Post-it note to help me out there. Let's see. Now I think we'll go around and we'll take a look at a pattern. I have a pattern that's knit flat, meaning that you knit on one side, flip it over, and knit on the other side. Okay? If it was knit in the round, all the numbers would be on one side. So let me just walk around here and show you what I mean. So we have this Noro scarf pattern. It's called the long lace scarf pattern. And you'll see that one is it's a right-sided row, okay? And then 2 is a wrong-sided row. 3, right side, 4, wrong side, 5, right side, wrong side, and going up and so on and so forth. So this is called a chart, and it's for when you knit flat, not when you knit in the round. If you knit in the round, all the numbers might be over here, and they would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then you would simply just knit them all the way around. You would just knit across. And you wouldn't have to switch back and forth, because when you're switching back and forth and you're knitting flat, you have to turn it over every time you work on it. So let's take a look at this. First thing you do when you have a pattern, you say, okay, so this doesn't show a great depiction of it. It's probably a copy of a copy, but anyway. This was the very first pattern that I knit when I learned how to knit. And I'm just showing you kind of what I did to make it easier for me. So the first thing I did is I looked at the scarf and I looked at the skill level, and this skill level was like a 1 or a 2. It would be checked here. These boxes would be checked, and if it's too difficult, I would say choose one with a lower skill level in the beginning, just so you can be successful. Because if you choose a pattern that's too difficult to start out with, you may never learn how to knit, because you get frustrated and give up before you ever have success. And I do not recommend doing that. Another thing that you can do, you look at your materials and you say, this was knit with Noro, which is a wool and silk blend. Say, I don't know what that yarn is. So you would go into Google and type in Noro, and then it would tell you what the contents are and how many yards it was, because a lot of patterns will name the yarn, they don't tell you what it is, what the content of it is, and actually how much yardage it has, because you don't have to knit this pattern with this actual yarn, because this yarn might be discontinued product, and you just want to get something that's close. So if you Google it and you look for something that's close, then you'll have a scarf that looks similar to what the picture looks like, and something about that picture attracted you and made you want to knit it. So you want to make sure that you use similar yarn to what it is. And then here it says the instructions are written for one size. It's approximately 8.5 inches wide and then it tells you 110 inches. Okay, so the next thing you want to know is you just want to make sure you get a similar yarn. So you want to get, let's see what needle size it says. It says a US number 10. So if you get a yarn that has a US number 10 and it is at least a wool blend, you'll get something similar to that. And that's what I would do. So what you can do, it says here to cast on 27 stitches and begin the chart pattern. Row 1 is a right-sided row. Work your first stitch, work the 6 stitch repeat 4 times. Work the last 2 stitches. Continue to follow the chart in this way to row 12. Then repeat rows 1 through 12 34 times more, or until you have about 3 yards left, and then it tells you you can bind off. Okay, so this 6 stitch repeat is done 4 times. So if I look on this piece of paper, on here I had written purl 1, knit 5. What I didn't write, and the reason why you want to write it in pencil, is times 4, and then you go purl 1, knit 1. So let's take a look at this. Also, I would take a piece of paper and do 2 lines for each one, because sometimes you want a little spacing in between, especially when you're first learning. So
there's a question, why are you writing it out like this?
There are a lot of people that a begin to knitter, if I gave them this pattern, they would get it so fouled up so quickly your head would spin. They would go, an X is what? And it would take them, 15 minutes to do 8 stitches or whatever, to do your 27 stitches. So by writing it out, this simplifies this for them. And eventually what they can do is they can just follow this chart. But for the first couple projects, that might be difficult for them. So with these begin to knitters, I would also have them, since this is a 6 stitch repeat, Jim, I'm going to reach over and grab that highlighter over there. Okay. What I would do for the 6 stitch repeat for people, even who are advanced knitters, it does help if you take a highlighter and you highlight this, okay? And then you see that's the repeat. And so if you highlight it, it makes it easier for even us advanced knitters who just use the charts to see. It makes it visually just easier to see. So for that begin to knitter on row number 2, now if you look at the plus sign, it says knit on the right side and knit on the wrong side. So we know that number 2, the plus sign is a knit, and if you go to the minus, it says purl on the right side and knit on the wrong side. So that one is a knit 2. So that would be knit 2. And then right here, this is, I put a 5. Do you see how I put 5 right there? So when there's these blank spaces, you'll know that you don't have to count them every time. It's just 5. Okay, so that would be purl 5, and then the last stitch on here is a minus. Do you see that there? And it says purl on the right side, knit on the wrong side. So that would be knit 1. And then again, we want to do this 4 times. Okay, and then we would put the knit 1. Okay, and then on row number 3, which is also a right side, do you see how I have that RS right side? And you can also take one of these little markers and say on your right side, because some of the begin to knitters won't even know which side is the wrong side and which side is the right side yet, because they're still learning how to identify stitches. So if this was my right side, I could also just take a little tiny stitch marker like that and say, every time that I come to this green marker, I'm on the right side. So you can do that for begin to knitters if you're helping someone learn how to knit, and it'll really help them learn more quickly. Just by using some of these little tricks, they pick up knitting much faster, and then they have some success under their belt, and then, oh boy, I mean, they'll start right with socks on their second project and all different kinds of things. So you can really help begin to knitters by doing this. So if we go here again, we could also, you know how I said to use our little sticky notes, you can go here. So on row number 3, we have the plus is a knit on the right side, so that's a knit 1. Now we're going to use these parentheses to identify our repeat section. And that is a knit 1, a yarn over, a slip knit, a purl 1, knit 2 together, yarn over. And I found those by looking at this stitch key. So the slip knit is right here, the circle is a yarn over, the minus is a purl on the right side, and so on and so forth. This is a knit 2 together and a yarn over. Okay, and again, we're going to be going times 4, and then we finish it off with a knit 2, because if we look at the blank space here on the right side, it says knit, and then this plus is a knit, so it would actually be just a knit 2. So you would keep doing that all the way through, and then when you start working on the pattern, you can actually take your sticky note and go to the row number 1. When you complete this row, instead of doing this, which a lot of people do check marks, remember when we did this pattern that we have to repeat this pattern like 34 times. So how are you going to fit 34 check marks on this line? It's not going to work. But what if you did this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you see that? That means I repeated it 5 times. You could easily, well, with a little bit of effort, get your 34 check marks using an actual line. So you just want to use these. Don't use regular check marks, and make sure that you're using a pencil. And a lot of times I will go to the store and buy one of these white erasers, because you'll begin to knitters will wear out their pencil erasers, so they'll need another eraser that they can erase with, because they're just learning, so they're having to erase all the time. So I would say that these are a good thing to have in your toolbox. All right, and also you guys remember to post comments in the comment section and talk about your projects that you're working on, and you can be entered to win your viewfinder or needle gauge. Okay, so anyways, all right, so that is another thing that we can do. Okay, also if you're working on your patterns, say this is a Beatrix Potter stole or scarf. I don't have this here, it is at home. And I could simply stick this pattern inside one of these little plastic covers that we use at the office, okay? And then your pattern stays perfect, and you can actually use like the Expo markers that you use for the dry erase boards, and you can write your notes on that. So I use Wonderland yarns, and it's called number 2, and I use an E crochet hook to make it, and I cast on 40 stitches instead of 58. And so then when I'm all done with the pattern, I could write this down in Ravelry, what I used, and post the picture, and then I would just put this in a regular binder so that I can find it later, and the pattern stays completely perfect by using these little covers on top. So that's another trick that you can do. Okay, and also you could, if you're, look at this pattern. This is from the Michelle Hunter, the Best in Knit Pearl Hunter book. I found this one pattern in here. But do you see how it has it has 24 rounds, okay? And you could just simply take your little Post-it note, and there's also Post-it tape that you can buy. Some people like to see through, and if they do, then use Post-it tape. And some people prefer not to see through because they might start knitting what's below it. So I would just do this round 1, then when I'm done with it, take it off and go to round 2. And I don't move the sticky note until I actually complete the round. And so that's how you can use sticky notes to help keep track of where you are in your patterns. Okay? So, and I would also venture to say that when you're doing patterns and you change the pattern in any way, do make sure that you write down how you changed it and what you did, because later on you're going to need to resource that information, and you won't be able to access the information if you haven't written it anywhere. So I'm going to go back around here and see if there was anything else that we needed to talk about before we wind up our
It looks like Suzanne Jennings joined us, and she was the winner, so you can let her know.
It was, Suzanne Jennings.
She just joined us.
Oh, awesome. Cool.
Sure, which one?
Suzanne, what you won was the viewfinder and the row counter for today. So we're going to be contacting you for your shipping information. So if you want to provide that for us, that would be great. And you can send the information to customer service at alpacadirect.com. Okay? So do that, and congratulations. And I totally love the baby blanket that you did. The colors were beautiful. You did a great job. It was fantastic. Thank you for sharing that with us. So anyways, let's see if there was anything else. We talked about the locking stitch markers, really useful for crocheters. And then we talked about the view sizers, all different kinds of things here. All right, and then I did mention to use pencil, always use pencil, and use tick marks instead of check marks. And they're so much easier to see and understand. You can quickly see that you've done 5 tick marks with little effort, where you might not be able to see it if you do the check marks. They're a lot harder to count, especially if you had like 34 in a row. It would not be great. So, and I also, I know that writing out the pattern does sometimes seem a little tedious, and I know for us more advanced knitters, ones who are used to reading charts, we'll just go straight to the chart. We don't even look at the instructions. But I would also venture to say be careful and read the whole pattern, even if you think you're a pro, because I get in a hurry all the time, and there are times when I miss very useful information, and I go back and went, oh my goodness, I can't believe I did that. I didn't read the pattern, or what have you. And you guys all know to check your gauge, because gauge does save time if you get the correct gauge to start with. All right, and then let's see here. I talked about using a pink stitch marker, for instance, for checking for notating the beginning of a right-sided row or round. And so and when I'm knitting in the round, and I love to use the pink stitch marker for the beginning of the actual round, because I can quickly zoom right past markers, because I'll have all different kinds of markers. But when I see that pink one, it just, I think in my mind, beginning of the round. So I always use a certain color for that. So you could do that too. Anyways, I think that was just about all that we had to cover today. Also, just make sure to enter comments in the comment section and let us know what you're working on, and you'll be entered to win the contest for this week. Oh, right, and Suzanne Jennings, sorry, I said that you had won these 2 items, but that wasn't the case. That's the entry for this week, right, Jim?
Right.
Right, so what it really was for the 2 different crochet hooks. Oh my goodness, you're going to get to try the crochet hooks and see why we loved them so much. So, sorry about that slip up there. You'll be getting the 2 crochet hooks. So do give us your shipping information, and we can get that right out in the mail to you, and you can enjoy them. So all of you have a great day, and I will be talking to you this next Tuesday. And next Tuesday, oh boy, okay. Next Tuesday, we're going to be talking about what is our favorite summertime tee, or is it a shrug, or is it a shawl, or is it a poncho, what have you. And we're going to be showing you some different projects that our family of knitting friends has knit, and they enjoy them. Also, I wanted to remember and remind all of you that tonight is our open knitting sharing time, and we are going to be talking about the projects that we're working on.
6:15.
And our it's at 6:15, you said? 6:15 p.m. And we should be timely. I don't imagine there can be any great big huge delivery trucks coming. So we will be talking to you again then. So you guys have a great day, and I will be talking to you tonight. Take care. Bye.